Well, we go back pretty far, my wife and I. My number's 163, and we go back to the early 70s on 12th Avenue. And saw it grow to a movement there, to 9th Avenue, a bigger expanded place. And at some point, 9th Avenue, the Quonset hut started become a little too small for them. The aisles were too narrow, and they were expanding pretty fast, and they had a need to move into a more organized bookkeeping system, and they hired Elaine Casey to come in and manage, give a little economic advice, and they started moving a little more in that direction. They began to hire some people from corporate retail chains into the store, and then came the move to Garden Street, and Keith was the manager, and he left. He took a vitamin job in Boulder, national vitamin chair, and then it came up the time to look at the next manager. And my wife worked for the store for about 10 years, and we've been volunteering on and off, and I started with the chair massage when the store opened, when the new store opened. And I must say, we weren't paying real close attention toward the change of managers and that whole manager selection thing. And but it soon became apparent that we had a manager who'd been without any co-op experience, who was from the corporate world. And we started noticing, everybody started noticing some changes away from what the co-op was intended to be, which was an alternative food model. You know, people started this because they were tired of the corporate food they were getting. Not healthy, packaged poorly, maybe toxic, pesticides. And they decided that they could buy from the wholesaler in their own way, and good quality food for a reasonable, better price. We didn't get anywhere with the board back then. John had come in and pretty much stolen the co-op and stole the board along with it. And every time we went to a meeting and people spoke up, they had an answer for everything, and people started resigning. The treasurer resigned because they could never agree on an audit that was never accomplished, and I was totally surprised that John was even fired. But we thought John was fired, and some of the board that was still with him continued. We thought with a new board that the co-op is going to start to make a big turn back to the old mission, you know. So we're going to continue to keep pushing for the co-op to turn away from the corporate model. You know, it's amazing that a co-op could last this long in a town the size of Pensacola. We traveled and worked for years in towns a lot bigger than Pensacola, Cincinnati, St. Louis. A lot of really major cities don't have a co-op this large. And so it's really fortunate that Pensacola has one. But as things go in non-for-profits, when things start making a lot of money, vultures start flying over, looking to take a cut of the pie. We didn't have any problem like this on 12th Avenue. There were no big profits, and even 9th Avenue, when it started to grow, wasn't so bad. But now when you get into the millions of dollars a year, people are looking for ways to take advantage of the system. And that's just not the co-op model. It's a fragile little model. People don't understand. This is a little social experiment that's been going on for Pensacola, going on 35 to 40 years now, where we've got an entity, a successful entity, that is down on the record as being a not-for-profit, having a mission first, and then finance it however you want. But it's not a mission that says, the bottom line, we're not here to make a profit. And so we don't want the corporate food tactics. You know, we don't want little trinkets of food at the register that are designed to make people impulsively shop. We don't want little Easter jelly beans at Easter candies around just because, you know, it just doesn't fit with the healthy food model that we're looking for. And so now the co-op's at a big crossroads. And the first conflict we had, we could see there was a conflict between where the co-op was originally intended to go and where John was taking it, a more corporate way. And then the second conflict was in so much as the relationship between the board and the manager. And what we should have done as members, we should have alerted the board that when John was fired and we're establishing a new board with a new direction, that some rules should have been laid down right then to never again allow the board and the manager to have such close relationship. Well, that didn't happen. partly the members' fault. We didn't get the board onto that track, and so now we're in another situation where we have a board falling in line with another manager who was handpicked by John. Sort of catalyst is involved with some firings, the move to Landrum, a more corporate entity, and some election irregularities. So now this really has come to head, but there's a dynamic I'm coming to find out in nonprofit groups, that when people get on the board, even the most sincere people, passionate people get on the board, there's things like the peer pressure. There's things about how am I legally bound, what's my liability here, and then you add to it the grandiosity of a large amount of money being involved, and just the gold and glitter of a bright big new store. That's a lot sexier and a lot more appealing than lowering prices in the deli so some poor people can come in there and have a bowl of red beans and rice for $3 instead of watching turkey and cheese sandwiches go up to $8, you know. Little things like how come the bag of bananas, the black bananas for $1 a bag, were discontinued. We asked about that and they said, well, we don't want to turn this into a discount store. We're just off on the wrong track. The consultant from Iowa came here and he gave a great presentation about expansion. It was all financial. And we're wondering, is this what we spent all these 12 years on raising all this money for, is to do a financial expansion? What about our expansion into the community, you know, where we can help educate people so that maybe other people can go on and start these cooperatives. I learned recently that there's like 60,000 cooperatives in different fields in the country. There's cooperative buying clubs, of course there's credit unions. People are looking for alternatives to the corporate model. That also has come to a head globally, that the bottom line of profit first, that's the Achilles heel of capitalism. That's the weak link, making your profit first and putting humanity second. So we have an opportunity to take this great entity called Evermans and put back the humanity into it. I like coming to Evermans. I love the store. A lot of people have given, there's been a lot of volunteer hours put in to this store over the years, over 40 years. A lot of people sacrificed and gave a lot of their time to make this store what it is, what it could be today. And that was a big rub when John started taking all that away, that we weren't going to just let somebody come in and ride off with what we saw as our co-op. Members actually felt like this is their store. And where else do you find that? You know, I go there now. I mean, I feel like I'm doing some good with the chair massage, and but I go there. It's a social meeting for me. People get together. They hang out there. People got to know the names of the tellers. So we want to get back to the old way, where community is first. So there's been a big division. There's been a big division that's happened now with a younger generation of co-op people who've had enough, and they don't want to take any prisoners, and they want this thing to be turned around. They're hell-bent on turning this around against a board that looks like it has grown into being intoxicated with all the money that's involved and this idea of expansion on such a grandiose level that they lose their vision. And the third conflict is that we need right now, and this is the root of all the conflicts, is that we need to lay down a real detailed mission for the co-op. Because we're asking the board to instruct William to follow this policy, which when you look at it is a little bit too vague. And I don't think everybody needs a real upgrade on what the real mission is. So we can totally understand that we're off the corporate model. We don't like it. We don't like it economically, and we don't like it in food production. Explore and get people's opinion and see what people's ideas are. Maybe each board member needs to write down what they think the co-op was. I looked at when they had the election, and they had people write down what they thought was their view of the co-op. And I really didn't see anybody, even the incumbents, really hitting on what the root was, you know? That it was all about providing good, healthy, clean food and provide it to the community the least corporate way. But this is an experiment, and we need to get back to the premise of the experiment.